We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher who understood the power of the mind in shaping our experiences. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by criticism, frustrated with minor annoyances, or caught up in the constant pressure to keep up with everyone else? You're not alone. In today's fast-paced world, we're bombarded with distractions and challenges that threaten our peace of mind. But what if I told you that you can master your emotions, overcome FOMO, and take control of your mental clarity using the teachings of Stoicism? In this video, you'll discover powerful Stoic strategies to navigate life's challenges, boost your emotional resilience, and stay focused in an increasingly noisy digital world. Whether you're dealing with criticism, facing stress, or feeling lost in the chaos of modern life, these lessons will guide you toward a more grounded, focused, and resilient version of yourself. If you're ready to take charge of your life, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official for more insights. Let's dive in. Number 1. Pause, reflect, respond. The art of emotional mastery. Imagine this. You're at work and your boss gives you some tough feedback in front of the entire team. Or maybe you're scrolling through social media when you see a comment that stings, perhaps a bit too close to home. Your heart races, your mind starts to spin, and you're about to react. But stop. This is where the art of emotional mastery, taught by Stoic philosophy, comes into play. The Stoics believed that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. They taught that the moment between a stimulus, like a harsh comment or stressful situation, and your response is when you have the power to choose your reaction. So what's the secret? Pause, reflect, respond. This practice of pausing before reacting is more than just a good habit. It's a powerful tool for managing emotions and navigating life's challenges with grace. Let's say you've just read a harsh criticism online. Your first instinct might be to fire back, defend yourself, or get defensive. But the Stoic approach is to pause, to create a space between what was said and how you choose to respond. Why? Because once you react impulsively, it's often too late to undo the damage, whether it's in a professional setting or in your personal life. The Stoics believed that emotion was not the enemy. It was how we reacted to that emotion that mattered. For example, when someone insults you, it's natural to feel anger or frustration, but those feelings don't have to control you. Instead of lashing out, take a step back and ask yourself, what's really going on here? Is this feedback valid? How can I use this moment for growth? Let's break it down. The first step is pause. When faced with a stressful situation, take a few deep breaths. The Stoics often practice deep breathing as a way to center themselves and regain control over their emotions. In that moment, you're choosing not to let external forces dictate your internal state. Instead of reacting immediately, you're giving yourself the time and space to make a measured decision. Next, reflect. Ask yourself, what is this situation really about? Is this person's criticism an opportunity to improve, or is it just an unfounded attack? Is my frustration about this situation or about something deeper? When you reflect, you're shifting from a reactive mindset to a thoughtful one. It's in this moment that you can connect with your higher values, such as patience, understanding, and resilience, instead of letting your immediate emotions take over. And finally, you respond. But not just any response. You respond with intention. You choose a response that aligns with your values, rather than being driven by anger or defensiveness. Maybe you calmly acknowledge the feedback, thanking the person for their perspective and letting them know you'll consider it. Or perhaps you explain your point of view without resorting to insults or aggression. The goal isn't to win the argument, but to preserve your peace of mind and maintain your integrity. Think about it for a moment. When was the last time you reacted without pausing and reflecting first? How did that outcome turn out? More often than not, a knee-jerk reaction leads to regret. The Stoics teach us that true strength lies in our ability to control our responses, to not let external circumstances determine our emotional state. An interesting twist on this idea comes from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Consider how this applies to modern life. Criticism, whether from colleagues, strangers, or even family, can sting. But what if, instead of letting it control you, You used it as an opportunity to practice emotional resilience. Let's look at a real-life example. Picture yourself receiving harsh feedback at work. Instead of immediately feeling defensive, you pause, reflect, and then respond with calm. By taking this approach, you're not only preserving your peace, but also building a reputation for being composed and thoughtful. Over time, this emotional mastery becomes a part of your identity. It's not something you need to force, it becomes natural. The more you practice, the more resilient you become in the face of life's challenges. Now, reflect for a moment. The next time something unexpected or frustrating happens, will you pause, reflect, and choose your response? Or will you react out of instinct? As the Stoics would advise, remember, you control how you respond, not what happens to you. Number 2. Turning minor annoyances into growth opportunities. Ever found yourself frustrated by the smallest things? Maybe it's a coffee spill just before an important meeting or the constant beep of a neighbor's car alarm at 3 a.m. Those little annoyances that, at first glance, feel like the universe is testing your patience. We've all been there, haven't we? But what if I told you these little frustrations aren't just obstacles? They can be stepping stones to something much greater. Stoic philosophy teaches us that it's not the things that happen to us that determine our peace of mind, but how we perceive and react to them. These everyday irritations? They're opportunities in disguise. The key isn't to avoid or ignore these moments of discomfort, but to approach them with a mindset that transforms them into personal growth. Imagine this. You're running late for work, and the traffic is unbearable. Your blood pressure rises, and every second that ticks by feels like an eternity. It's easy to get frustrated and upset. After all, you can't control the traffic. But that's exactly where the opportunity for growth lies. Instead of getting consumed by anger, why not see this moment as a test of patience? Could this minor inconvenience be a chance to practice emotional control, stay calm, and shift your perspective? Sure, the situation hasn't changed. You're still late, but your ability to stay composed in the face of stress has just improved. The Stoics believed that every situation, no matter how small, is an opportunity to strengthen your character. And yes, even something as trivial as waiting in line at the grocery store can be an opportunity for growth. It might sound silly, but think about it. The next time you're stuck in line, instead of huffing and puffing, why not use that time to reflect? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Perhaps it's patience, perhaps it's resilience, or perhaps it's just a reminder to slow down and be more mindful of the present moment. But let's get real. No one likes waiting in line, right? And no one enjoys being stuck in traffic. So how do we make this growth opportunity actually stick in our daily lives? First, we need to change our mindset. Instead of seeing inconveniences as disruptions to our plans, we need to view them as challenges to improve our ability to stay calm under pressure. It's about taking control over how we feel when life doesn't go our way. Here's a thought. Have you ever noticed how, in moments of frustration, our thoughts seem to spiral out of control? One annoyance leads to another, and before we know it, we're angry about things that didn't even seem to matter an hour ago. The Stoics warn us about this kind of thinking because it's often in these emotional spirals that we lose our sense of peace and control. Instead of adding fuel to the fire, pause and ask yourself, is this really worth my energy? So next time you're faced with a minor annoyance, take a moment to ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Maybe it's a lesson in patience or the recognition that some things are simply out of your control. Remember, it's not the annoyance that's the problem. It's your response to it. The more you practice this mindset, the more natural it becomes. Now, let's add a little humor to this. Picture this. You're dealing with a slow internet connection, and every page takes forever to load. It's easy to lose your cool, right? But let's take a Stoic approach for a second. Instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? Try thinking, well, here's a chance to practice patience, or at least entertain the idea of enjoying the slowness. Sometimes it's the little things that remind us not to take life too seriously. After all, in the grand scheme of things, will the slow Wi-Fi really make or break your day? Probably not. The Stoics taught that growth isn't about avoiding discomfort. It's about embracing it and seeing it as an opportunity to strengthen our inner resilience. Just like the rock that gets smoother over time as the water flows over it, we too grow stronger by learning to deal with the small irritations in life. So let's put this into action. The next time something small gets on your nerves, whether it's a delay, a rude comment, or a missed opportunity, pause for a moment. Don't let it trigger a wave of frustration. Instead, use it as a tool for growth. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Embrace the discomfort, laugh at the absurdity of life, and remember that every moment is a chance to build your emotional resilience. And here's the real question. If you can turn the minor annoyances of life into growth opportunities, imagine how much more peace and strength you could cultivate over time. Number 3, combating FOMO, embrace your own path. Have you ever found yourself scrolling through social media, looking at pictures of friends traveling to exotic places or landing dream jobs and thought, why am I not there? That feeling of being left behind, that nagging, almost physical sensation in your chest, is what we call FOMO, the fear of missing out. It's easy to get trapped in this cycle, isn't it? Everyone else seems to be living the life we think we should be living. The truth is, FOMO is not just a modern problem. It's been around for centuries. The Stoics recognized this long before Instagram, and they had a surprising solution to combat it. Instead of comparing ourselves to others, the Stoics encouraged us to focus on our own unique journey. It sounds so simple, right? But in a world where we're constantly bombarded with the highlight reels of other people's lives, it's harder than ever to keep that advice in mind. Stoic philosophers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius knew that the key to happiness is not about following the crowd or chasing what others have, but about walking your own path with confidence. And that's where the real challenge lies. The next time you catch yourself envying someone else's success or experience, take a step back. Ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Is it because I'm genuinely missing out on something that I want? Or is it simply that I'm comparing my behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel? When you begin to see FOMO for what it really is, just an illusion, you'll find that the anxiety it causes starts to fade. You see, the Stoics taught us that what we choose to focus on shapes our reality. When we're fixated on others, it becomes impossible to appreciate our own progress. Take a moment to think about the things you've achieved that are uniquely yours. How far have you come? What are the things that only you can accomplish because of your unique journey? The Stoics were firm believers in doing the work that only you can do, without looking over your shoulder to see if anyone else is doing it better or faster. But of course it's not that simple. FOMO thrives on comparison, and comparison is the thief of joy. That's why the Stoics would often remind themselves that the only thing within their control is their own actions and their own responses. What other people do is beyond their influence. The same holds true for us today. Sure, we can admire someone else's success or adventure, but we have no control over their choices. What we do have control over is how we choose to move forward in our own life. This is where the Stoic concept of virtue comes into play. Virtue, for the Stoics, is living according to our values and doing what is right for us regardless of what others are doing. It's easy to get distracted by what others are doing, but real peace comes from knowing that you are on the right path for you. And let's be honest, the idea of living a life that's in alignment with your own values and priorities is far more fulfilling than chasing someone else's dream. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what if I'm missing out on something truly amazing? Here's the twist. Maybe it's not about what you're missing out on, but about what you're choosing to prioritize. Every time you say yes to something, be it a goal, a project, or a lifestyle, you are, by default, saying no to something else. And that's perfectly okay. In fact, it's empowering. The Stoics didn't fear missing out because they knew that by committing fully to their own journey, they were living their truest, most meaningful life. They chose to prioritize their growth, their peace, and their values over what others were doing. Here's where a bit of light humor comes in. Imagine living in a world where everyone tried to do everything at once. We'd all be stuck in an eternal state of confusion, trying to be everything to everyone. If you've ever seen a dog try to chase 2 squirrels at once, you'll get the picture. It doesn't work. Similarly, trying to chase everyone else's dreams will only leave you exhausted and frustrated. So how do we fight FOMO in a practical sense? First, by embracing our unique path and reminding ourselves that our journey is just as worthy as anyone else's. Second, by realizing that the fear of missing out is not based on reality. It's rooted in comparison, and comparison doesn't serve us. Third, by being intentional with our time and choices and focusing on what truly matters to us, not on what's trending or what others are doing. The next time FOMO strikes, pause and reflect. Is this desire to follow someone else's path serving me? Or am I simply distracted by the noise? Ask yourself what it would look like if you committed to your own journey fully, without looking at the paths of others. What would it feel like to trust your choices, to know that you are where you need to be? After all, the Stoics weren't concerned with missing out on anything. They were too busy living a life they could be proud of. Number 4. The digital detox, building a Stoic relationship with technology. Let's be honest, when was the last time you spent a full 30 minutes without checking your phone? It might sound impossible, right? Yet, here we are, living in a world where we're constantly connected, but often disconnected from ourselves. The constant buzzing, notifications, and infinite scrolls on social media have become the modern-day equivalent of a digital addiction. If we're being truthful, we've all been there, haven't we? But here's where Stoic philosophy offers a powerful antidote. The Stoics taught us the value of detachment, not just from people or things, but from the distractions that prevent us from being truly present. In today's hyper-connected world, we often find ourselves tethered to technology in ways we don't even realize. Whether it's checking emails first thing in the morning, scrolling through Instagram during meals, or getting lost in news cycles that don't really add value to our lives, technology has taken over more of our time than we might care to admit. But here's the kicker. The Stoics weren't against technology or tools. In fact, they recognized the power of external things. What they opposed was allowing these things to control us. The Stoics taught us that the key isn't in rejecting technology altogether, but in mastering our relationship with it. Have you ever found yourself in a spiral of checking your phone so many times that you forget what you were originally doing? It's a classic trap. The Stoics would call this a lack of control over our desires. You see, technology itself is neutral. It's how we engage with it that matters. Imagine having a hammer in your hand. You can use it to build something valuable, or you can use it to break something precious. The Stoics, like Epictetus, reminded us that we should only let ourselves be ruled by what we can control. And we certainly can control how we engage with technology. The first step to building a Stoic relationship with technology is to ask yourself, what do I actually need this for? Think about it. What are you truly using your device for? Is it to enhance your life, stay connected with loved ones, or pursue meaningful work? Or are you just mindlessly scrolling because it's become a habit? By asking this simple question, you're already taking the first step toward detachment, which is essential to mastering our relationship with technology. But here's where it gets tricky. FOMO, the fear of missing out, rears its ugly head. Technology, particularly social media, feeds into our desire to stay constantly updated on what others are doing. It can leave us feeling like we're missing out on life if we aren't checking in every 5 minutes. But again, the Stoics had a solution. They believed in focusing on the things that matter, not the things that distract us. So when you find yourself getting sucked into the endless scroll, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this helping me grow? Or is it simply filling the void created by my own distractions? A Stoic approach to technology is all about balance. You don't have to go full digital detox unless you want to. No judgment here. But you can make intentional choices about when and how to engage. For instance, Marcus Aurelius, one of the most prominent Stoics, spent a significant amount of his life as a leader, constantly faced with distractions. But he knew the importance of mental clarity. So he would take time to reflect and write, almost like a form of digital detox, long before the concept even existed. If someone as busy as Marcus could set aside time for self-reflection, surely we can find a few minutes each day to disconnect. Now let's talk about the how. How do we begin to create a healthy relationship with technology? Start small. Try setting boundaries around your screen time, such as limiting your social media usage to certain times of the day or designating tech-free hours, like during meals or before bed. You can even set reminders that say, check in with yourself before checking your phone. It might feel awkward at first, but the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And it's a lot less stressful than constantly refreshing your inbox. Plus, you'll be amazed at how much time you free up for things that actually bring value to your life. And yes, it's perfectly fine to admit that you'll fall off the wagon sometimes. Maybe you'll find yourself reaching for your phone out of habit. But instead of beating yourself up about it, remember the Stoic wisdom that everything is a practice. You can't expect instant mastery. It's all about progress, not perfection. At the end of the day, the goal is to create space in your life for the things that truly matter, not to be enslaved by the endless barrage of notifications and updates. And when you make that space, you'll find that technology can actually be a powerful tool to enhance your life rather than detract from it. But you have to be the one in control, not the other way around. So, next time you reach for your phone, ask yourself, is this adding value to my day, or is it just a distraction? And how would your day change if you gave yourself permission to put it down and engage more fully with the present moment? Imagine what you could do with all that extra mental space. Wouldn't it be amazing? Number 5, focus on what you can control. You've probably heard the saying, control what you can and let go of the rest. It sounds simple, but how often do we actually practice it? In a world that's full of chaos, deadlines, and the occasional curveball, it's easy to get caught up in things we can't control. But what if I told you that one of the most powerful things you can do for your peace of mind is to focus solely on what you can control? This is one of the core teachings of Stoic philosophy, and it might just be the secret to living a more fulfilled, less stressed life. Think about it for a second. How many of your daily worries revolve around things that are outside your control? The weather, the traffic, the opinions of strangers, the economy, and so on. These are all factors that, no matter how much you stress or obsess over them, you have absolutely no say in. And yet, we often let them dictate how we feel. But here's the beauty of Stoicism. It tells us that we don't need to worry about the things we can't control. Instead, we should direct our energy toward what we can influence, our own thoughts, actions, and responses. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what if I can't help it? What if things are just going wrong all around me? Well, here's the kicker. That's exactly where the power lies. You can't control the world outside of you, but you can control how you react to it. Have you ever noticed how two people can go through the same stressful situation and come out with totally different reactions? That's the magic of control. It's not about avoiding challenges, but about how you handle them. Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, were all about focusing on what they could control and accepting what they couldn't. Let's make it practical. Imagine you're stuck in traffic on the way to a big meeting. You're running late and your stress levels are rising. You're thinking, I'm going to be so late, this is going to ruin everything. But here's the Stoic approach. First, acknowledge that the traffic is completely out of your hands. You can't change it. So instead of wasting energy getting upset, you focus on what you can control. Maybe it's turning on your favorite podcast to make the drive more enjoyable, or using the time to calm your mind with deep breaths, or even thinking about how you'll gracefully handle the meeting, no matter what. The point is that you shift your attention from external circumstances to your internal response. Think about the most successful people you know. Do they waste time stressing about things they can't control? Or do they focus on their own actions, improving themselves, and finding solutions in the face of challenges? It's easy to get lost in the drama of life, but the Stoics would remind us that our true power lies in how we choose to respond. Now, I'll admit, this isn't always easy. Sometimes it feels like everything is spiraling, and it's hard to let go of the things that are out of our hands. But here's a little trick that might help. What would happen if you treated every stressful situation as a practice in focus? Instead of reacting immediately with frustration or panic, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, what can I control here? And how can I make the best of this situation? It's like mental training. The more you practice, the better you get. One of the best ways to stay grounded is to develop a regular practice of reflection. Stoics would take time each day to reflect on their actions, thoughts, and how they had responded to challenges. By making this a habit, you start to train your brain to focus on what's important. Your own peace of mind, your own growth, and your own ability to respond in a way that aligns with your values. It's less about fixing the world and more about fixing your response to it. And let's be real, life isn't going to stop throwing challenges your way. But when you start focusing on what you can control, you'll find that your sense of empowerment increases. You can't always change the cards you're dealt, but you can always decide how to play them. That's where the true Stoic strength lies. So next time life throws you a curveball, ask yourself, what can I control in this moment? Is it your mindset, your actions, your attitude? By making this simple shift, you can take back your power. And trust me, that's a game changer. Number 6. Gratitude as a Stoic superpower. If you think gratitude is just about saying thank you when someone holds the door open for you, think again. Stoic philosophers saw gratitude as a fundamental tool for maintaining peace of mind, and it's a superpower that anyone can harness. It's a mindset that doesn't just rely on good manners or politeness. It's a way to shift your perspective, overcome negativity, and cultivate resilience in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Gratitude, when practiced regularly, is like the ultimate filter for your thoughts. It helps you focus on what's good in your life, rather than getting bogged down by everything that's wrong. Picture it this way. You could spend your day thinking about the pile of emails you have to answer, the meeting that's stressing you out, or the fact that your favorite coffee shop is out of oat milk, the horror. Or you could shift your attention to the fact that you have a job, a roof over your head, and maybe even the ability to enjoy a cup of coffee in the first place. Which of those sounds more empowering to you? The Stoics believed that gratitude is the antidote to dissatisfaction. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoics, would write about practicing gratitude every day, not just for the big wins, but for the small moments as well. For instance, he would express thanks for the fact that he could simply breathe, think, and interact with others. It's easy to overlook these simple joys, but it's precisely these things that form the foundation of a good life. Think about it. In a world that often feels like it's moving at breakneck speed, taking time to appreciate the present moment can be incredibly grounding. Stoics understood that focusing on what we don't have often leads to frustration and unhappiness. But when we shift our focus to what we do have, our health, our loved ones, the ability to learn and grow, we open ourselves up to a sense of fulfillment that doesn't depend on external circumstances. It's about choosing to see the good, no matter what's going on around us. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but what if things are really tough right now? How can I be grateful when everything seems to be falling apart? That's a valid question, and it's something the Stoics had to wrestle with as well. In fact, some of the most profound teachings on gratitude come from Stoics like Epictetus, who faced tremendous hardship in his life. Epictetus lost his freedom, was enslaved, and endured great physical pain. And yet, he was known for his ability to maintain a sense of gratitude in the most difficult of circumstances. He believed that no matter what life throws at us, we can always choose how we respond. And often, that response can be one of gratitude. Not for the hardship itself, but for the lessons it teaches us and the strength it builds. Let's make this even more practical. Have you ever had one of those days when everything seems to be going wrong and you feel like nothing is going your way? Maybe you missed a deadline, had a bad meeting, or spilled coffee on your favorite shirt. In those moments, it's easy to spiral into negativity, but this is where the Stoic superpower of gratitude can really work wonders. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, pause for a second and ask yourself, what can I be grateful for in this situation? Maybe the coffee spill gave you an opportunity to slow down and take a break. Perhaps missing the deadline was a wake-up call to prioritize your tasks differently next time. Even in challenging moments, there's usually something to appreciate, even if it's just the fact that you're still alive to face the next challenge. Here's the fun part. Practicing gratitude doesn't have to be some serious, rigid routine. Sure, you can keep a gratitude journal if that works for you, but you can also make gratitude a part of your everyday interactions. Think about the people in your life. How often do you stop and truly appreciate them for who they are, not just what they do for you? Gratitude doesn't just need to be inward-focused. It can be a powerful tool for strengthening relationships too. By expressing thanks for the people around you, you're not just improving your own outlook, but also creating a ripple effect of positivity. So next time you're feeling overwhelmed or down, remember that gratitude is always within your control. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to focus on what's good, even when life isn't exactly going your way. And when you embrace gratitude as a Stoic superpower, you'll find that your ability to face life's ups and downs with strength, resilience, and grace grows exponentially. After all, isn't it the small moments of appreciation that often lead to the biggest shifts in perspective? So, what's the takeaway from all of this? Stoic philosophy isn't just for philosophers or ancient texts. It's a powerful toolkit for anyone looking to build resilience, control their reactions, and lead a more meaningful life. By focusing on what you can control, practicing gratitude, and embracing challenges as opportunities to grow, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. Remember, life will always throw its curveballs, but how you choose to respond to them is entirely up to you. Will you let external events control your happiness, or will you take charge, like the Stoics, and shape your own peace of mind? If you found value in this, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official for more content that will help you live a life of purpose and strength. Now it's your turn. What's one Stoic principle you're going to apply today? Let me know in the comments.